Well, good morning, Community Baptist folkers. No, that almost sounded bad. ComBappers, Community Baptist folks, ComBappers, lurkers, others. Welcome to our 10 o'clock ComBap video update for today. I don't have a guest, but I got a couple of really cool things to show. First, our Bible verse of the day, which is right from Job 19:25. I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end, he will stand on the earth. Which reminds us a couple of things. One, of course, that Jesus Christ is alive, and this was from the book of Job, potentially the oldest book in the entire Bible. Of the 66 books in the Bible, Job is probably the oldest. And just a reminder that even in Job, we see prophecies and foreshadowing to Jesus. But also, in the end, he will stand on the earth. And Christians don't think that we spend eternity in heaven. Well, they shouldn't. We actually spend eternity on earth, in the new heaven and the new earth, with Jesus. So Job 19:25, a reminder of that. Head over to our Community Baptist YouTube page. Now, you're on it right now if you're watching this. And don't forget to hit subscribe and also the bell that says notifications. We did upload a couple of some stuff yesterday, including a new ministerial initiative, which is 4 pastors talking about issues surrounding our pandemic at the moment. So get a load of that. God, Coffee, and COVID-19. There's a couple of episodes there that have been recorded by us pastors here in Swift Current. So take note of that over on our YouTube page. And when you're at our church website, Penny's starting to make a wonderful list, or always has been, but making a wonderful list of our recent videos. So if you're having a hard time finding them, just go to our church website, and there you will see it, right there on that page. Now, I'm going to give you a little sort of research tip. I know that as people are trying to figure out, what's going on with this, how are we dealing with this, what's the good news and the bad news, as we know from our discussions about news media, they make their money by getting you to be scared or excited about something. So that's just the reality of the nature. So if you head over to CTV News, there's an article there called COVID-19 Curves, Comparing Canada and Other Nations. And they've got a nice little chart right there in the middle, which looks like it's a comparison of Italy, United States, United Kingdom, and Canada. This is a nice chart, by the way. They give you some great options. But if you look at that, you go, oh man, Americans are just dying like crazy. And that's the default, which is unfortunate, because if you look at raw numbers, of course, the United States is 10 times larger than Canada. And even though Canada, the green little line down at the bottom, looks pretty impressive, it's really just raw numbers. So they do give you some options here, instead of raw data, to click on, in this case, cases per 100,000. So if I click on that, suddenly our graph begins to look a little better. And again, also suddenly our graph begins to show that Canada is actually doing quite well, even per 100,000. It also shows Italy, who really had that really bad spike, and that bad spike that was in a particular region, they are dropping off dramatically as cases per 100,000. And then, of course, you mix in UK. And they also do give you some nice ways to drop down and pick different countries. So let's take Italy out of the mix, and let's put in Sweden. Sweden's been in the news because of how they've been doing things quite a bit different. So they're the black line, and you can still see that they're doing this. So this is important as you look at charts, look at graphs. Ask yourself, okay, what is it? Is it a per person thing, or is it a total thing? Because if you're dealing with totals, you're dealing with a whole different ball of wax. So this is a great chart, by the way, over at ctvnews.ca. I just don't like how they started with the raw numbers instead of the per capita or the per 100,000. So that's a great article over on ctv.ca, and it's called Compare Canada with Other Nations. That's a great chart. So get over there, take a look at that. And even down here, the cases on a 7-day average, you click the per 100,000, and this is for provinces now. Then you get a little bit of a different look, and you see in Canada specifically, we're having, Quebec seems to be having the most cases. So, all right, that's free. I don't usually get into that too much stuff on our ComBap update, but here is today's. Before I get to my announcement, here is today's Right Now Media suggestion. And this is, I didn't even know this was here. I just found this, and I'm pretty excited about this. A guy by the name of Neil Anderson wrote a book called The Bondage Breaker many, many, many years ago. I met the guy, actually. He came to our church where I was working in Regina. Oh, see, that's when Matthew was born. So that's 28, 27. How old is Matthew? What year was he born? It was 1992. So that was somewhere around 92, 1990. And this steps to freedom. So he's broken down sort of we used to call it a fierce spiritual inventory, if you will. And he would break it down into sort of steps that you need to walk through to do a good cleaning. So this is like a spring cleaning for your spiritual life. And Michelle and I have been able to help people through this, gone through it ourselves. This is a video version, which I didn't even know they made. So this is a British presentation. They've got Neil Anderson by video link, but they still walk through the steps to freedom. The steps are, what's counterfeit versus real, identifying sort of things that are tricking you or spiritual deceptions in your life, which then leads to deception versus truth, which is then trying to identify lies. Bitterness and forgiveness, which is, as it says, dealing with forgiveness. Pride versus humility. Bondage versus freedom. And curses versus blessing. And sort of this, just do this inventory. And some of these are pretty short, like the pride versus humility is 6 minutes, but the bitterness and forgiveness one is 21. So I'm going to play just sort of the brief introduction to that particular session.
Let's turn now to step 3, which is called bitterness versus forgiveness. And in our experience, this is the number one issue that Satan uses to neutralize Christians. It's a big deal.
If there was one particular step or key, I think, to my freedom, it was probably forgiveness. And it's a step that, it seems like you've done it before, or it seems like, this is something, I'm always going to deal with. That person that really hurt me that time in my life, that's just something I'm always going to be, having to come back to. And I really write down write down every single person that has ever wronged me. This is bizarre. I remember filling up just page after page after page, and even writing people's names down who I thought I'd probably forgiven. And I just remember spending so much time on that step. And if I were to say throughout each of the steps of freedom in Christ, I felt the most different after that particular one. I can't quite connect the dots as to why that was connected to a noisy mind, but somehow it was.
All right. So anyways, that's the steps to freedom right there on Right Now Media. So that is wonderful. So before we, end up getting back to sort of normal life, take the time to go through this. The sessions are, like I said, the longest are 25 minutes. The shortest is 5. And you don't even necessarily have to have the workbook with you. So just follow the instructions as he gives you. This is a thing that I have done with many, many people in my office over the years. This is a chance for you to be able to just sort of touch on this. And if you do it and you run into some any kind of hitches, just give me a call. So yeah, the announcement is pretty straightforward. We're gonna start next week. So in May, we're gonna start using our sanctuary here for our small groups. So my small groups anyways, and I know that the other small groups are considering options for them. So we can have up to 9 others, me being number 10. And we'll be sitting here in the sanctuary, spread out throughout the pews or throughout the chairs. And it's going to be a great opportunity for us to get together. We will also still be doing it by Zoom for those who are still unable to come. So we're going to try to work our way back to some semblance of normalcy around here. And so we're excited about that announcement. So Bible study, my Wednesday Bible studies next week will be using the morning session as in the physical building one, and then the afternoon one as the online one. We may also tweak that if people aren't available for either of those in one way or the other. We can probably do both the video at the same time. So take note of that, my Wednesday group, and we're excited to have at least something to get back to starting up back to normal around here. And that's all I have for today. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and God bless, and this too shall pass.